In December of 2015, I had the good fortune of covering the Paris Climate Summit. Part of the Paris Agreement was for 196 nations to pledge to reduce their carbon emissions. But it had another component as well that really made news, and that is forests and the preservations of forests and the replanting of forests where there had been deforestation would play a primary role in pulling carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So I've been following that story and keeping up with that as I've covered climate summits over the years. And then in the winter of 2018, I got tipped off to a story that I just found unusual and a little hard to believe, quite frankly. And that is that the fastest growing energy source in the United Kingdom and in the European Union was the burning of wood for energy. What was happening is that trees were being cut down and they were being turned into wood pellets. Tons and tons of wood pellets were being produced, and they were going into coal-fired power plants. So nations like the UK and Belgium were phasing out coal, and instead they were burning wood to generate the same energy that coal was once producing. What I found really confusing about this is that we would be cutting down trees, which again were enshrined in the Paris Agreement as something that were kind of precious, that we needed all the trees we could have. Now, as I covered this story, I was primarily covering it from the policy point of view overseas. So in April of this year, I got a call from John Sawyer, who's the executive director of the Pulitzer Center. And John explained to me that he had gotten, that the Pulitzer Center had received a big grant to support local journalism. And he wanted to know if I had a story that I could produce for a North Carolina news organization. And I said, yeah, like this wood pellet story. Like I would love the opportunity to report on the North Carolina angle, because I'd always been reporting on the overseas angle, the policy angle, the United Nations angle. And when I said this to John, he said, you know, we've just supported a freelance journalist named Saul Elbine, who just did a big piece for Vox on this whole question of wood pellets and whether it was damaging forests and in the whole controversy over the carbon emissions and whether they were being counted or not. So John put me in touch with Saul. I called Saul and he said, yeah, I'd love to work on a project like that. And really the big issue that we're trying to get our arms around with this series is whether the whole concept of cutting down trees, turning them into wood pellets, shipping them overseas to be burned instead of coal is actually beneficial, particularly when we're not counting those emissions. Our Pulitzer-sponsored project is about the wood pellet industry and its impact on the environment and climate change.